The skies over Earth were clear and blue that Tuesday morning. John Miller stood at the window of Space Defense Command, looking up at what seemed like an ordinary day. For the past 15 years, he had led Earth's space monitoring program, watching for asteroids or other natural threats. Never in his career did he expect to find what his team discovered that morning. "Commander Miller, you need to see this," said Kevin Burns, his communications specialist. Kevin's normally calm voice had an edge to it. "The deep space array is picking up something strange." John walked over to the large screen where Kevin was pointing. The display showed an unusual signal pattern coming from just beyond the moon's orbit. "It's not one of ours," Kevin said, "and it's not from the International Space Station or any known satellite." John frowned. "How long has it been there?" "That's the thing, sir. According to our readings, it just appeared. No approach trajectory. 1 minute nothing, the next minute, something." John reached for the secure phone on the wall. "Get me the president." Across town at NASA headquarters, Dr. Linda Gray was having a similar morning. As the head physicist for NASA's Extraterrestrial Research Division, she had spent her career searching the stars for signs of life beyond Earth. Now, evidence was staring her in the face. "The objects are approximately 20 meters in diameter," she explained to her team as they gathered around her computer. "Perfectly spherical, and they're emitting energy signatures unlike anything in our records." Her assistant, Paul Chen, looked worried. "How many are there?" "We've counted 7 so far, 1 near each continent." "What are they doing?" asked another. "Scientist." Linda pulled up another screen showing data streams. "They're scanning us, our cities, our oceans, our defense systems. They're taking an inventory of Earth." The president called an emergency meeting of world leaders. Within hours, similar reports came in from Russia, China, India, and countries across Europe. The objects, now being called probes, weren't hiding. They wanted to be seen. 3 days after the probes appeared, the world's television, radio, and internet broadcasts were interrupted simultaneously. On screens around the globe, an alien face appeared. The creature had gray-blue skin, 4 eyes set in a wide face, and no visible nose or ears. "People of Earth," it spoke in perfect English. "I am High Commander Zortal of the Galactic Hegemony. We have been observing your world for some time. Your planet has been selected for incorporation into our domain." John Miller watched from the Pentagon Situation Room, his face grim. Linda Gray watched from NASA, her hand covering her mouth in shock. "The hegemony rules 10,000 worlds across this galaxy," Zortal continued. "Your civilization has reached the threshold where we typically make contact. You have nuclear capabilities, early space travel, and global communication. You are, however, still quite primitive by galactic standards." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in what seemed like amusement. "You have 30 Earth days to prepare for our arrival. Your world leaders will surrender authority to our appointed governors. Your resources will be cataloged and harvested. Your people will be assigned appropriate roles within our system. Resistance is not advised. Those who have attempted it have not survived." The transmission ended as abruptly as it began, leaving Earth in stunned silence. The next day, John Miller was summoned to the White House. The president had appointed him to lead Earth's response team. When he arrived, he found Linda Gray already there. "Dr. Gray has been analyzing the alien probes," the president explained, "and what she's found might give us our only hope." Linda pulled out her tablet and showed John the data. "The probes are advanced, but they follow certain patterns. When we send them particular types of data, they respond in predictable ways. It's like they're programmed rather than thinking independently." "What does that mean for us?" John asked. "It means we might be able to confuse them or even disable them if we can crack their programming language." The president looked at them both gravely. "I need you two to put together a team, the best minds we have. If there's any weakness in these aliens, any chance of defending ourselves, we need to find it." Over the next week, a secret facility in Colorado became the center of Earth's resistance planning. John and Linda assembled a team of scientists, military strategists, and technology experts. Among them was Sam Gibson, a programmer who had been arrested twice for hacking government systems. His skills with breaking complex codes made him invaluable. There was also Maria Lopez, a weapons developer whose unconventional designs had been rejected by the military as too experimental. The probes are collecting data on conventional weapons, John explained to the team during their first meeting. Tanks, planes, missiles, but they're paying less attention to our digital infrastructure. They might think we're too primitive to be a digital threat, Sam suggested. Or they're so advanced that they don't consider our technology worth worrying about, Linda added. As the days passed, the team worked around the clock. They discovered that when certain encrypted signals were sent toward the probes, the alien devices would pause briefly, as if struggling to process the information. It's like giving a complicated math problem to a calculator, Sam explained. It needs time to work through it. Meanwhile, cities around the world prepared for the worst. People built shelters, stockpiled food, or fled to remote areas. Some prayed. Others partied like it was their last chance. Military forces from former enemy nations began working together, sharing information and strategies. 25 days after the first message, the probes suddenly became more active. They moved from their stationary positions and began flying over major cities, scanning more intensely. They're preparing for the main fleet, Linda warned. We're running out of time. On day 28, John called an emergency meeting with world leaders. We have a plan, he announced, but it's risky and we'll only get one chance. The plan was to send a specially designed signal to all 7 probes simultaneously. The signal contained a virus hidden within complex mathematical equations that the team hoped would overload the probe's systems. If it works, Sam explained, it should crash their network and buy us more time. And if it doesn't work? Asked the Russian president. John looked grim. Then we'll have shown our hand and they'll be ready for us when they arrive. The world held its breath as the countdown reached 0. From 7 locations around the globe, transmission dishes pointed skyward and sent the signal. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then one by one, the probes began to drift from their positions. Their lights flickered and dimmed. In Space Defense Command, cheers erupted as their screens showed the probes going dark. We did it, Kevin shouted. They're shutting down. But John Miller didn't cheer. He kept his eyes on the main screen, where a new signal was appearing, much larger and coming from beyond Mars. No, he said quietly. We just made them angry. The real battle for Earth was about to begin. 3 massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit 5 days after the probes went dark. Unlike the small spherical probes, these vessels were enormous, each one nearly the size of Manhattan. They had a strange, curved shape that reminded John Miller of giant metal insects. They're earlier than promised, Linda Gray said, looking at the live satellite feed in the command center. Zor Tal said 30 days. It's only been 28. I guess aliens don't keep their word, Sam Gibson replied, his fingers flying over his keyboard as he tried to analyze the new ships. The virus we sent must have forced them to change their plans. The emergency broadcast system activated worldwide as the alien ships positioned themselves over North America, Asia, and Europe. This time, when Zor Tal's face appeared on screens, globally his 4 eyes were narrowed in what could only be anger. Humans, the alien commander began. Your primitive attempt to disable our scout probes was unexpected. Unwise, but unexpected. The hegemony does not tolerate resistance. Your surrender period is now terminated. Subjugation begins immediately. The transmission cut off. Seconds later, reports flooded in of smaller craft deploying from the motherships, hundreds of them, descending toward major cities. In the Colorado facility, alarms blared as radar systems tracked the incoming vessels. They're targeting military installations first, reported Kevin Burns, watching the patterns on his screen. Washington, Beijing, Moscow, London all show multiple craft on approach. John Miller grabbed a secure phone. This is Commander. Miller. Initiate Defense Plan Echo. I repeat, initiate Defense Plan Echo. He turned to his team. We need to evacuate now. This facility is surely on their target list. As if in response to his words, the building shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. That was close, but not a direct hit, Linda said, checking the building's structural sensors. We have maybe 10 minutes before they pinpoint us exactly. The team rushed to gather their essential equipment. In the 2 days since disabling the probes, they had been working non-stop on new countermeasures. Sam had developed an improved version of the virus that had worked on the probes. Maria Lopez had adapted some of her experimental weapons designs to target what they believed might be vulnerabilities in the alien craft. Load everything onto the transport, John ordered. We're heading to the backup facility in Nevada. As they loaded the last of their equipment, Maria looked up at the sky through the loading bay doors. They're not bombing us indiscriminately, she observed. Their attacks are precise, military only. They want the planet intact. That makes sense, Linda replied. Zortal mentioned harvesting our resources. They don't want to damage what they came to steal. The team's convoy of armored vehicles sped away from the facility, just as alien craft appeared overhead. They watched in the rearview mirrors as energy beams struck the building they had just left, reducing it to rubble in seconds. The journey to Nevada was tense. Along the way, they saw evidence of the selective attacks, military bases in flames, but civilian areas largely untouched. The skies were filled with strange aircraft engaging with Earth's jets, which were clearly outmatched. Our pilots are fighting bravely, John said, watching an American fighter jet attempt to evade an alien craft before being hit and spiraling toward the ground. But conventional weapons are barely making a dent in their shields. When they arrived at the underground Nevada facility, they found it already bustling with activity. Scientists and military personnel from around the world had been gathered, here as part of the contingency plan. Commander Miller, a general, greeted him. Glad you made it. The situation is critical. We've lost approximately 60% of our primary military capabilities worldwide. Communication networks are spotty. Any good news? John asked. The general managed a small smile. Actually, yes. The aliens aren't as invincible as they want us to believe. British forces managed to bring down one of their smaller craft using concentrated EMP bursts. The Russians captured another using some kind of cyber attack that confused its navigation systems. This information energized the team. They quickly set up their equipment and connected with other scientists working on defense strategies. Linda organized the research teams while John coordinated with military leaders. Sam immediately began working with a group of international hackers who had been recruited for their skills. The smaller ships have a similar communication protocol to the probes, Sam discovered after analyzing data from the downed craft. More advanced, but based on the same principles. If we can jam their communications with the motherships, they might become disoriented. Meanwhile, Maria met with weapons engineers to share her designs. The aliens use a form of energy modulation. For their shields, she explained. If we rapidly change the frequency of our weapons, we might find gaps in their defenses. As night fell, the alien attack paused. The smaller craft returned to the motherships, which remained in orbit, glowing ominously in the night sky. They're regrouping, John said during an emergency meeting, and probably planning their next phase. This was just about neutralizing our military capability. Tomorrow, they'll likely begin their resource extraction operations. Then we need to be ready with our countermeasures by morning, Linda replied. Throughout the night, the underground facility buzzed with activity. Nations that had once been enemies now shared their technologies and strategies freely. Russian cyber specialists worked alongside American hackers. Chinese weapons experts collaborated with European engineers. By dawn, they had 3 potential countermeasures ready to deploy. Sam's team had created an improved jamming signal that could potentially cut off the smaller ships from their motherships. Maria and the weapons teams had modified several missile systems to cycle through frequencies that might penetrate alien shields, and Linda's research group had made an unexpected discovery about the alien biology. Based on the emissions from their ships and the visual data we have of Zortal, we believe the hegemony species are highly sensitive to certain wavelengths of ultraviolet light, she explained, showing scans on a large screen. It's not lethal to them, but it could be disorienting, like a flashbang effect. As the first rays of sunlight hit the Nevada desert above them, radar systems detected the alien ships moving again. This time, They were descending toward areas rich in natural resources, mining regions, oil fields, and water reservoirs. They're beginning the harvest, John said grimly. It's time to see if our countermeasures work. Because if they don't, humanity will become just another conquered species in the galactic hegemony's collection. He looked around at the determined faces of scientists and soldiers from around the world. Deploy all 3 countermeasures simultaneously. Let's show these aliens that Earth isn't going to be an easy conquest after all. The morning sky filled with alien ships. They spread out over key locations around the world. Oil fields in the Middle East, mines in Africa, and water reservoirs across North America. Their harvest had begun. In the Nevada bunker, John Miller gave the command to launch their countermeasures. All teams execute now, he said into the global communication system. Around the world, hidden military units activated Sam's jamming signal. The complex code pattern shot up from transmitters on every continent, aimed at the communication systems of the smaller alien vessels. At the same time, modified missiles with frequency-shifting warheads launched from submarines and mobile platforms that had escaped the first wave of attacks, and special aircraft released clouds of particles designed to reflect the ultraviolet light in a way that would disorient the aliens. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, alien ships began to behave strangely. Some stopped in mid-air, others moved in circles or flew in wrong directions. A few crashed into each other. "The jamming is working," Sam shouted, watching the radar displays. "They can't communicate with the motherships." On another screen, they saw missiles approaching alien vessels. Most were destroyed by defense systems before impact, but some got through, especially those that rapidly changed frequencies as they approached. When they hit, alien shields flickered and failed. "Yes!" Maria pumped her fist. The frequency shifting worked. The ultraviolet countermeasure proved effective as well. Near areas where the particles had been released, alien ships moved erratically, as if their pilots were disoriented. "We're hurting them," Linda said. "But this won't last long. They'll adapt quickly." She was right. Within 20 minutes, the aliens began to adjust. Their ships changed communication channels to avoid the jamming. Their shields started cycling through frequencies more rapidly, and they released their own particles to neutralize the ultraviolet effect. But in those 20 minutes, humanity had scored its first real victory. Nearly 30 alien craft had been destroyed or disabled. Several had been captured intact, and most importantly, the harvest operations had been disrupted. "They're retreating to the motherships," Kevin reported as the alien vessels pulled back into orbit. A cheer went through the bunker, but John quieted them quickly. "This isn't over," he said. "They're just regrouping. Now that they know we can fight back, they'll come at us harder." His prediction proved correct. 3 hours later, the motherships began to move. Instead of staying in fixed positions over the continents, they repositioned themselves over the oceans. "What are they doing?" asked Sam. Linda studied the data coming in from satellites. "They're over the deepest parts of the oceans, the Mariana Trench, the Puerto Rico Trench, the Java Trench." As they watched, the bottoms of the motherships opened. Enormous tubes extended downward, plunging into the ocean depths. "They're extracting something from the ocean floor," Linda realized. "Possibly minerals or deep-sea microorganisms." "Can we stop them?" John asked. "Not easily," Maria replied. "Our submarines can't go that deep, and the motherships are too well defended for a direct attack." Just then, a call came in from an oceanographic research vessel that had been monitoring the aliens' activity in the Pacific. "The aliens are extracting rare earth elements from deep-sea vents," reported Dr. Alan West, the lead scientist on the vessel. "But there's something else happening. The water temperature around their extraction tubes is dropping rapidly. They're freezing the ocean as they go." Linda gasped. "They're not just taking resources, they're changing our planet's environment. If they freeze enough of the deep ocean, they could disrupt global weather patterns, ocean currents." "They're terraforming Earth," Sam realized, "making it more like their homeworld." This revelation changed everything. What had seemed like a simple resource grab was actually the beginning of a full planetary transformation. one that would make Earth uninhabitable for humans. John called an emergency meeting with leaders from around the world. As governments grasped the full scope of the threat, a desperate plan took shape. "We need to capture an alien ship," John explained. "Not just a small one. We need one of their mid-sized vessels, intact enough to fly." The plan was incredibly risky. Teams would use the 3 countermeasures together in specific locations to force several alien ships to crash or make emergency landings. Strike teams would then attempt to secure one of the vessels. 4 locations were chosen for the operation: the Mojave Desert in the United States, the Gobi Desert in China, the Negev Desert in Israel, and the Outback in Australia. The attacks would happen simultaneously to spread the alien forces thin. "I'll lead the Mojave team," John volunteered. "I'm coming with you," said Linda. "If we capture a ship, we'll need someone who understands their technology." Sam and Maria would coordinate from the bunker, providing technical support. The operation began at sunset. In each location, human forces launched their countermeasures with maximum intensity. The response was immediate and fierce. Alien ships swarmed to the attack sites, firing energy weapons that turned sand to glass. In the Mojave, John and Linda watched from a hidden bunker as their forces engaged the aliens. Fighter jets sacrificed themselves to draw alien fire. Ground-based. Jammers disrupted enemy communications, and special forces teams waited in concealed positions. "There!" Linda pointed to an alien vessel struggling to maintain altitude. Its engines sputtered as it descended for an emergency landing about 2 miles from their position. John radioed the strike team. "Target down at Sector 7. Move in now." Heavily armored vehicles raced across the desert toward the downed ship. The team, wearing protective gear against possible alien biologicals, breached the hull through what appeared to be an airlock. For 15 tense minutes, there was no communication from the strike team. Then the radio crackled. "Command, this is Strike Leader. Ship secure. 3 alien crew members neutralized. 2 captured alive but injured. The vessel appears mostly intact." A wave of excitement went through the command center. For the first time, humans had captured not just a ship, but actual living members of the galactic hegemony. John turned to Linda. "Now comes the hard part. We need to learn how to fly this thing, and fast." As night fell over the Mojave Desert, scientists and engineers swarmed the captured alien vessel. Linda led a team inside, marveling at the advanced technology while trying to decipher its operation. In orbit, the motherships had noticed the loss of one of their ships. They began to adjust their positions, preparing for what would surely be devastating retaliation. Earth had won a battle, but the war was far from over, and time was running out. 24 hours after capturing the alien ship, Linda Gray had made remarkable progress. The vessel's control systems were unlike anything humans had built, but they followed certain logical patterns that she began to understand. They used thought, patterns combined with hand movements, she explained to John Miller as they stood in what appeared to be the ship's bridge. "Their technology is partly biological. It responds to brainwaves." John looked skeptical. "How can we use it then?" "We're not them." Linda smiled and held up a modified helmet. "We adapted their neural interface. Sam helped me reprogram it to work with human brain patterns. It's not perfect, but it might be enough to fly the ship." Meanwhile, in another part of the captured vessel, scientists worked with medical personnel to understand the captured aliens. The 2 hegemony crew members were being kept in a secure area, their atmosphere and gravity adjusted to match what seemed to be their preferences. "They're not so different from us in basic biology," Dr. Frank Peters, the lead xenobiologist, reported. "They breathe oxygen but prefer more carbon dioxide than we do. Their blood is copper-based rather than iron-based, and they communicate both verbally and through color patterns on their skin." One of the aliens, who was less injured than the other, had begun to make sounds that the translation team was trying to decode. They called this alien Blue because of the predominant color of its skin. Sam Gibson had created a basic translation program based on the language files found in the ship's computer. After several attempts, they managed to establish simple communication with Blue. "Why do you fight?" Blue asked through the translator. No species fights the hegemony and survives. We fight because this is our home, John replied simply. We won't let you take it from us. Blue's skin rippled with dark patterns. Thousands of species said the same. All now serve the hegemony or are extinct. We'll be the exception, John said. In orbit, the motherships had changed their behavior. They pulled back their harvesting tubes from the oceans and moved into a triangular formation. Energy readings from the ships spiked dramatically. They're charging weapons, Kevin Burns reported from the monitoring station. Big ones, much more powerful than what we've seen so far. Linda worked faster on the captured ship, which they had named Hope. If her theories were correct, the ship could do more than just fly. It could access the hegemony's communication network, potentially allowing them to listen in on enemy plans. After several hours of work, she called John to the bridge. I think I've got it, she said, putting on the modified neural interface helmet. Here goes nothing. She closed her eyes and concentrated. Slowly, the ship's controls began to glow. Screens activated showing alien symbols that the computers translated into English. It's working, she whispered. I can feel the ship responding. Through the neural link, Linda navigated the ship's systems until she found what looked like a communication module. I'm in their network, she announced. I can hear them talking to each other. What she learned was terrifying. The motherships were preparing for a synchronized energy blast that would hit Earth's magnetic poles simultaneously. The resulting electromagnetic disruption would disable all electronics on the planet, leaving humans defenseless against the next wave of the invasion. They're going to hit us in less than 6 hours, Linda reported. Once our technology is disabled, they'll send in ground troops to round up survivors. John immediately called world leaders with the information. We need to evacuate as many people as possible from the polar regions, he advised, and shield critical infrastructure if possible. But even as evacuation orders went out, everyone knew the truth. There was no way to protect the entire planet from such an attack. Then Maria Lopez had an idea. What if we use the Hope as a shield, she suggested. These alien ships must have powerful defensive capabilities. If we position it between Earth and one of the motherships at the right moment, we might be able to deflect or absorb some of the energy blast. It was a desperate plan, but the only one they had. Using the data Linda had accessed, they calculated the exact time and location of the planned attack. The Hope would need to fly to the North Pole and position itself in the path of the energy. Beam from the nearest mothership. I'll pilot it, Linda volunteered. The neural link works best with me since I programmed it. I'm coming with you, John insisted. You'll need someone to handle defensive systems while you fly. Sam and Maria would remain at the base coordinating with global defense forces and continuing to work on countermeasures. As Linda and John prepared to leave in the Hope, Blue asked to speak with them. Your plan will fail, the alien said through the translator. One small ship cannot stop 3 motherships. Maybe not, John replied, but we have to try. Blue was silent for a moment, its skin shifting through complex patterns. Then it said something unexpected. I will help you. Everyone stared in shock. Why would you help us? Linda asked. The hegemony destroys worlds, Blue responded. It takes beauty and makes sameness. I have seen it for 500 years. I am tired of destruction. With Blue's help, they gained valuable insights into hegemony tactics and technology. The alien explained that while the Hope couldn't stop the energy blast entirely, it might be able to redirect it back at one of the motherships if its shields were configured in a specific way. As the deadline approached, the Hope took off from the desert, climbing rapidly through the atmosphere. Linda piloted while John worked the defensive systems. Blue sat behind them, providing guidance. The motherships will detect us soon, Blue warned as they left Earth's atmosphere. They will send interceptors. Sure enough, smaller alien craft began to pursue them. John activated the Hope's weapons using the skills Blue had taught him. To everyone's surprise, he was a natural at the alien targeting system, hitting multiple pursuers with precise shots. Hold on, Linda called as she pushed the ship's engines to maximum. The Hope shot toward the North Pole, racing against time. When ready, they reached the target position. They could see the mothership directly ahead, its massive energy weapon glowing as it prepared to fire. "Shields configured," John reported, following Blue's instructions. "But will this really work?" "We're about to find out," Linda replied, her hands steady on the controls as the countdown to the attack reached 0. The mothership fired, a blinding beam of energy lancing toward Earth's North Pole, and directly at the tiny ship that had placed itself in its path. The energy beam from the mothership hit the Hope with incredible force. Inside the small craft, alarms blared as the shields strained under the attack. Linda, John, and Blue were thrown against their restraints as the ship shuddered violently. "Shield. Strength at 60% and dropping," John shouted over the noise. Blue's skin flashed with urgent patterns. "Rotate shield harmonics to match the beam frequency," the alien instructed. "Then reverse polarity when I give the signal." Linda focused intensely through her neural interface, feeling the ship's systems as if they were extensions of her own body. She adjusted the shields exactly as Blue directed. The beam continued to pound against them, pushing the Hope backward. Shield strength dropped to 40%, then 30%. The hull began to heat up and warning lights flashed across every console. "Now," Blue suddenly called out. "Reverse polarity." Linda made the change instantly. What happened next astonished everyone watching from Earth. Instead of absorbing or deflecting the energy beam, the Hope's shields began to act like a mirror, bending the attack back toward its source. The redirected beam, now slightly green-tinged, from the Hope's shields, shot directly at the mothership. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen as the beam struck the much larger vessel's shields. Then, a bright flash erupted from one section of the mothership. The enormous ship's shields had failed in one area, and the redirected energy tore through its hull. On Earth, monitoring stations erupted in cheers as they watched the mothership list to one side, clearly damaged. The other two motherships quickly discontinued their attacks on the poles, their attention now focused on their injured companion. Inside the Hope, the situation was less triumphant. The strain of redirecting the beam had severely damaged their systems. "Multiple failures," John reported grimly. "Engines are offline. Life support at minimal levels. We're drifting." But even as he spoke, Linda noticed something strange happening. The two undamaged motherships were moving closer together, and energy readings from both were climbing rapidly. "They're not giving up," she realized. "They're combining their power for an even stronger attack." The three watched as the motherships linked their energy systems, preparing for what would surely be a devastating strike against Earth, one that their damaged ship could not intercept again. Then Blue did something unexpected. The alien moved to a secondary control panel and began inputting a complex sequence of commands. "What are you doing?" John asked, suspicious. "Saving your world," Blue replied, "and perhaps changing mine." Through the Hope's communication system, Blue sent a message, not to Earth or to the motherships, but outward into deep space. The message contained detailed information about the hegemony's activities on Earth, along with something Blue called the forbidden truth. "What truth?" Linda asked. "That the hegemony lies to all species," Blue explained, skin patterns showing what they now recognized as sadness. "The Council tells us we must expand to survive, that resources are scarce in the galaxy. But it is not true. They desire only power and control." As Blue finished sending the message, the two functioning motherships completed their energy link. A new, more powerful beam began to form between them. "We've failed," John said quietly. "There's nothing more we can do from here." "Perhaps not, you," Blue replied. "But help comes." Before they could ask what Blue meant, space around the motherships suddenly distorted. New ships appeared, dozens of them, then hundreds. They were similar in design to the hegemony vessels, but with subtle differences. Their hulls were decorated with green and blue patterns rather than the hegemony's harsh red. "The Free Worlds Alliance," Blue explained, with what seemed like the alien equivalent of a smile spreading across its skin. "Those who broke from the hegemony centuries ago. I have served as their spy. Your resistance gave me the chance to call them." The new fleet immediately engaged the motherships, firing weapons that easily penetrated their shields. Smaller craft deployed to surround the damaged mothership. A transmission came through on the Hope's communication system. The being on screen looked similar to Blue but with predominantly green skin. "This is Commander Zal of the Free Worlds Alliance," the alien said in perfect English. "We received Blue's signal. The people of Earth are now under our protection. The hegemony's illegal. Expansion ends here." The battle in orbit was brief but decisive. The damaged mothership surrendered quickly. The other two fought harder, but were overwhelmed by the Alliance's superior numbers and tactics. Within an hour, the hegemony forces were defeated. The Hope, still damaged but operational enough for short-range travel, was guided back to Earth by an Alliance escort vessel. When Linda, John, and Blue emerged from the ship onto the desert floor, they were greeted as heroes. In the days that followed, representatives from the Free Worlds Alliance met with Earth's leaders. Commander Zal explained the true nature of the galaxy. "The hegemony controls less than 30% of our galaxy, though they claim to rule it all," Zal told the assembled human leaders. "Many worlds resist them. Many more live free without their knowledge. Your world fought back more effectively than any new species we have encountered in centuries." The Alliance offered Earth protection and technology to help repair the environmental damage caused by the hegemony's brief occupation. In return, they asked for Earth to join them as allies against the hegemony's continued expansion. 1 month after the invasion, Linda Gray stood on the deck of the Hope, now fully repaired and upgraded with Alliance technology. John Miller joined, her looking up at the stars. "I never thought I'd be excited about going into space," he said. "But now I can't wait." Linda smiled. Earth's first official diplomatic mission to other worlds. Who would have thought we'd jump from "Are we alone" to "We have allies across the galaxy" in just a few weeks? Sam Gibson approached, carrying new communication devices developed with Alliance help. "These should let us stay in touch with Earth from anywhere in the sector," he said proudly. Maria Lopez was already aboard, working with Alliance engineers to adapt some of her weapons designs for the ship, and Blue, who had chosen to remain with the humans as a cultural liaison, waited by the airlock. "The Alliance Council is eager to meet you," Blue told them. "Your victory over the hegemony has inspired many worlds that were afraid to resist." As the Hope prepared for departure, news channels around the world broadcast the historic moment. The ship that had once been their enemies was now humanity's first true starship. Its new name, painted in bold letters across the hull, reflected Earth's new status in the galaxy: Earth Defiant. The small ship rose smoothly from the desert floor, hovered briefly over the cheering crowd, then shot upward into the clear blue sky. In less than a minute, it was just another twinkling light among the stars. Humanity's first step into a much larger universe. The galactic hegemony had targeted Earth, believing it would be an easy conquest. Instead, they had awakened a new power in the galaxy, one that would help reshape the cosmic balance forever.